on Ojwang Mariam. Ojwang, thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
I'm grateful and humbled to be here this morning to give influential, insightful, impactful, wamesema vitu mingi mzee.
All right.
And I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the chance and opportunity.
Okay, Kuja, did you encounter debris kwa barabara?
There's a lot that is happening, especially from the constituency I come from, Resambu constituency. We were hit by something we have never seen in this constituency. Any constituency inakuwaga iko undermined sana ama underserved sana. But every time tumetokea huko seeking for justice, juu ya barabara, juu ya maji, bad leadership and all those things, we have never destroyed property. Tutawasha moto kwa taya, si ni watu at least tumesoma kidogo. We are not uncouth to say that. But jana supermarket zimechomwa, Family Bank hadi ATM Car West haziko. All these chaos happened, and it's so sad for me to say this on live TV that leo asubuhi viongozi kutoka Resambu wameamka wakilia as everyone analia. But what is concerning so much is terms, dictions and choice of words zenye zinatumiwa na hawa viongozi. Utapata like kiongozi wa Liquor Licensing Board in Resambu ni mtu ambaye ako concerned sana na entertainment. All entertainment joints inajulikana. Najua natoka Soweto, ni mtu ako na power. You see, mimi saizi nikikuona wewe kama kuni, I will not first approach you. Uko na wanasema waliwaona goons usiku at 2 am. Wakiwa yeye na kiongozi mwingine ito Hannington Masioka. At 2 am wameona goons in Soweto wakilipwa, and then our goons wakaenda na majembe. So for a leader, tusiongelele mtu yote, for a leader, mimi nikiona kitu kama hicho, I would want to approach and ask what's happening. They did the same. But juu hawa ni goons, as I approach for my own security, lazima kwanza at least nipige picha ama nichukue ka video ile ya kujaza ile curiosity ya hawa ni nani before I approach them. Wao tunawauliza mko na picha? Hawana picha. Mko na video? Hawana video. Wanasema walikuwa 15 men na walikuwa wameogopa sana. But bado wanaongeza, they were not able to take photos and videos, but walikuwa na guts za kuengage hawa wasee hadi to a point wanaona sio wa Soweto ama Kahawa West. And the question still lies. Naweza kuwa mimi ni mjinga fala sana, but kuna vitu mingi sana hatuambiwi. One, hawa wawili tumesema ni viongozi. Two, mmoja ni wote wawili ni wafanyakazi kwa county ya Sakaja, wote wawili. Three, wote wawili hakuna mtu ako na uhusiano na ule mwingine. Wanasema walikuwa patrol. If you are on a patrol at 2 am before we approach our goods wenye wanalipo, you would want to know who are they or show us some photos. We are living in a digital age. Amongst the big divide that is being given on the Daily Nation, we know the truth. Wakenya waliamka asubuhi sana kuandamana for Sabasaba, but kila estate ulikuwa unaamka unapata polisi hapo nje. It's not only in the newspaper. I witnessed it. Nilikuwa tayari kutokea CBD as always vile tumezoea kuandamana. Tulikuwa tayari kupambana hizo barricade zote za Thika Road hadi tuingie CBD. But tunaamka unapata polisi wamejaa kwa estate, watu wanapitia kwa railway as wanatafuta alternative routes za kuingia town. Such things would make a smart person like you and I to remain in a peaceful environment, let's say home. So nilibaki home. But bado kuna watu walibomoa hizo vitu zote zilibomolewa, loot and all that destruction. In a country where we've seen hired goons and what they do, we're only supposed to open our eyes tujiulize who sponsored these goons. And if we can't know who sponsored them, kuna picha, because we are in a digital era, zinaonyeshana hadi wa mama wenyewe wakiingia kwa supermarket wanatoka na mafuta. If you get on Facebook, you'll see them from Kahawa West. Na inasemekana huyu anauzaga smoky kwa roundabout, anafanya nini na mafuta 3 liter na amezoea ile 1 liter ya kupimiwa na juala. That means yeye ni mwizi. Hawa watu wote washikwe, investigations ziendelee, ndio tujue nani waliwalipa. We cannot let our country go down the swamp that way, because wanasema hapa hivi, including Jimmy Wanjigi, that our country, vitu zenye tumeona ni vitu tulisoma kwa vitabu vya
tamthilia na riwaya.
Hatujawahi ona vitu kama hivi tena. Hiyo inaonyesha ya kwamba rais wetu amekosa legitimacy kabisa. Gazeti leo linasema tumepoteza 10.4 billion in Nairobi. Sio kwa sababu ilivutiwa, ni kwa sababu hakuna mtu alikubaliwa kuingia Nairobi na imekuwa as an empty street. That was the peaceful protest that Sabasaba marked. The rest was sponsored chaos by people we don't know.
All right. So if we look at the newspapers, you began on a very high note because imekuingia.
Imeniingia macho. Unaamka wewe ni kiongozi, unatuambia ati ati hukupiga picha lakini uliona goons wakilipwa. Na sisi tunasema wewe unalipa goons.
Who should we be blaming in this situation? Should we be blaming the police or should we be blaming our leaders?
I will blame us. When I say us, I will say everyone who is 35 years and below. We are the most struck by the unfortunate events of this country. Because if we were living in a fair nation, fair nation haimaanishi hata tuajiriwe, but I should be empowered enough to employ watu wengi. Wewe you should be empowered enough to do the same. Everyone who has gone to campus and graduated has been taught or trained how to manage. Everyone who has gone to TVET and lower institutions to do TVET and certificates has been taught to do. If the system was right and doing as it was supposed to do, sisi wa Kenya tunatosha tujilishe kila mtu. If tunaumia na sisi vijana bado, the solutions, wale ambao wamesoma wanawaambia the solution ni hii katiba. Na hii katiba inakupatia amri under article 37 ya kutokea kwa barabara na kupetition. Hiyo katiba haisemi wewe ndio kalut. So every youth who is being paid 500 to go and loot someone else's property is failing us. We are failing ourselves as the youth. We've been told for a very long time that siri ni ballot, siri ni ballot, siri ni a voter's card. That is not the siri, because if we get out there and we vote in the same manner that we've been voting, then we'll just have a status quo. Economy mbaya, uchumi mbaya, and we say tungoje 5 years. The constitution is not that fixed. Iko flexible design yenye. If wewe hatukutaki and you are a president, you are not supposed to ask us when you say Ruto must go, what do you mean? You are supposed to read the constitution and know what legitimacy is. If you are not ready to work with those people, because we've entrusted you as a representative in the highest office on this land, the presidency. So if you are not able to work with us as your partners, the most honorable thing is to resign. Rais Ruto hafai kutuuliza ataenda aje nyumbani. Anafaa a resign, and then akisha resign aweke pay bill, tutamchangie pesa za hiyo miaka miwili imebaki, so that we can have peace na nchi iendelee. I think I'm tired as a youth of crying all the time, going to the streets all the time, and yet we're not doing anything. We are the media. Other medias are doing it. We do more by telling people kwa ground unafanya vibaya. Usione mtu hata amewekwa kwa gazeti leo analipa goons, kesho unataka tulie mtu wetu. Mwambie usifanye hivyo. Unamkosea mwenzako. Ukimkosea mwenzako, umejikosea wewe mwenyewe. Otherwise hakuna mtu anafaa kukuwa na stress hii nchi. Do you know why? Because stress wewe ndio utafanya nipate, ama huyu ndio atafanya nipate. Thinking about the other person sana. Now imagine you are thinking about a person, hadi unatokea kwa barabara unauliwa. Person mwenye yeye anafikiria venye atalut kwa mwenzake, venye ataibia mwenzake. It's not good.
Alright.
You must take deliberate chance and opportunity to change and use it well.
In the past, we have witnessed a situation where in Kenya we have experienced voter apathy for the longest time, where someone anasema, there's no need of me voting because even if I vote, my vote is going to be stolen or something like that. Recently, we've had a situation where around 600,000 Kenyans were patrioted. They were given, identification cards. This may make someone think that, okay, nothing is going to be happening even if I vote. We've also had a situation where our IEBC right now is not reviewed. And that means that if we continue this way, the courts might just be looking at us tuende, we go to 2027 elections after voting to ambiwe this election is null and void. It was not reviewed. The boundaries were not reviewed. So there is a lot of voter apathy kind of feeling that we are having as Kenyans. Alafu right now we are having a situation where the public has lost trust in government agencies, and that is specifically the police department and the DCI department. So we have a situation where we are unsure if we vote, is our vote safe? And if we vote, if our votes are not safe, can we go to public institutions and get justice? So what do you think this is leading our country to right now?
You see, Sylvia, they once said that when a hyena wants to eat her children or his children, lazima kwanza aseme wananuka kondoo. To people who don't eat kondoo and maybe they prefer pork, lazima huyu fisi afanye wao watoto wake wanuke hivyo. Or others, when they want to kill you, they first say you are mad. When you are mad, you have no opinion. There is no way, for example, in our country, all these youth who are called the majority, 70%, are mad when they are saying, this man must go. This man, whom we are saying must go, should love himself more and sit down and ask himself, if there was a time a king was naked and no one spoke, but a young boy stood and said, uko uchi, how come leo sio mtoto pekee anasema niko uchi, ni Kenya nzima na mimi mwenyewe naona siwezi. Toka hapo. You see hapa hivi kwa Daily Nation wameweka 17 counties mahali wanasema ndo demos zili happen. It's a form of voter apathy too, so that you can tell the rest of the counties that hii region ndo hainitaki. Makosa si mimi, makosa ni hii region. That kind of politics has been there, and the proponents of the 2010 Constitution of Kenya COK had seen it, because previously we had places like Lake Region. Unajua Lake Region imekuwa ikiumia sana juu hakuja kuwaga na president pale since the era of 1963-64 when Jaramogi Oginga Odinga the late decided to step down and allow Jomo Kenyatta to be the Prime Minister of Kenya. The Lake Region felt sidelined, and by the virtue of opposition politics wakakuwaga wako huko. Kazi ni make sure umeingisha mtu wenyu kwa kiti, ndio mtu huyo wenyu afikirie kwao pekee. Kama nyinyi mnanipiga awache kwenu. For example, in these 17 counties mahali demos may happen sana, especially on Sabasaba, we're going to experience one, less development. Even though hata saizi hakuna development kubwa inaongelelewa, we'll experience less development hapo hivyo, and we'll expect to see more development in the Lake Region and the Coastal Region mahali ambapo kunasemekana ni pro-government. They're calling it 2-term, 1-term, the narrative and vile iko. Those things bado zote ni voter apathy. Juu mtu ako mahali pako underserved, ndo anaamkaga anasema, manze naenda kuvote, hii kura itanisaidia wapi? Kama nikivote, bado mwenye nitavotia, kura itakuwa imepotea, hakuna haja. But you see, that's the mistake that the politicians capitalize on. Their goal is not for us to go and vote. They are very happy and comfortable when the youth of this country don't go to vote. Because they will clinch power through a forced majority from the minority, but those who are not enlightened. Now, according to the Constitution of Kenya, everyone deserves to be represented in every house. Hata kama ni watu mad wakaungana vizuri, wanafaa wachague mtu mmoja wao aingie bunge. Bunge always itakuwa na watu wajinga. Juu watu wajinga lazima waungane waweke mmoja pale. Bunge lazima always itakuwa na mtu wetu. Kuna kichele tuweke huyu. But haitusaidii sisi kama vijana. We need to rethink. Yes, civic education inafanya kazi kubwa sana. Because right now on TikTok, the Gen Z bodies, they're not just talking. They are giving us civic education in a language you can understand. Si kama hapa hivi ndio inafanyaga sisi tuone. Basi hapo ndio watanasema hii katiba inasema. That works. And the Facebook language, ndio tuingie pale ndani bila uoga. ukifika kwa community na unajuaga shida ni huyu, juu shida haiko pale juu. They must go, Ruto must go term does not mean president pekee ndio ako na shida. That's why president anakaaga chini anasema ni kama shida ni Rigathi Gachagua, anamtoa anatupa, anasema ni kama shida ni huyu attorney general, he's not giving me good advice. Justin Bidan Muturi anaenda kunaenda aje hapa hivi, DIG wanafanya makosa, wacha wa step aside kidogo, badala waende. Unaona? But sisi kama nchi, you remember me saying that Kenya is a community, people of different thinking wakutane pamoja, na je tukaungana tuseme haya basi.
I want to move this country forward. You mentioned TikTok buddies, and I thought of my sister yesterday.
You thought of your sister na nimekuona pia wewe kwa TikTok.
Yesterday we had gunshots around our neighborhood. They were looting Maguna supermarket, which is just a stone throw from where I stay. So there was a lot of chaos around. And she was saying that, you know what, this time nachukua kura. And I'm like, this is something unheard of. Yeah. She's someone who is never into political affairs and everything. But now that you mention, I thought of, okay, this might be true and it's happening. Now, if you look at, still talking about the young people, economists say that the country, the Nairobi might have lost around 10.4 billion just from yesterday. That is something that is affecting our economy. Most of MSMEs were destroyed, looted. Supermarkets were also looted. Others like Magunas, I think in Kirinyaga or Muranga, was also burnt. Yesterday we had supermarkets in Juja looted, and all these things are happening when people are recording and no one is caring. We had others in Kawa West looted also. And yes, and Nikama Magunas has been a target in this protest. Because those are three Magunas. And still talking about the young people and the economy, the Star on business news and mental health today, they're saying young Kenyans depressed as tough economy breaks homes. And this is a study conducted by Shamiri Institute and the Brian and the Mind Institute, BMI, at Aga Khan University. And the study shows that adolescents with only one surviving parent had 18% higher adversity scores. This is just a study showing how depressed or how emotionally unstable the young people are. It might be from broken homes. It might be from lack, let me not say poverty, in their respective homes. It might be from, did I mention broken homes? Yes, it might be from frustrated parents due to lack. And it might be also from the fact that they have maybe completed their studies and they're not having jobs, and that is probably forcing them to the streets. So it is something that the protest, if we look at it, it's not just about the looted, the looted properties or the destroyed properties. Let's take a look at it from a mental health perspective. Now, these young people, last time on the 25th of June, when there was protest in demand of, in remembrance, was it in remembrance of last June's protest?
Yeah.
There's also the one for demanding accountability for Juang. There's a lady, yes, there's a lady who is a neighbor. Alisema, we're asking, mbona unaenda maandamano and you have 2 kids? And she's like, I'm tired. In fact, I'm going on the forefront. I want to be shot. You see, it is not just about going to the street to demand accountability. There is an underlying factor that leads to this. Our mental health as the young people is not on a good place. And it is various frustrations, lack of jobs, lack of, opportunities. You're seeing a situation like the Stars given prominence on Bichalua MCA's county chiefs splash millions in Dubai. That is on page 4. And the control of budgets has mentioned counties spending, like Machakos County, spending 488.21 million, almost $500 million, on foreign trips to Dubai. And Dubai is the famous destination. We've heard counties like Lamu spending around 60.6 million on Dubai trips. We've had counties like Marsabit spending around, this is around 137 million on trips to Dubai. So you're seeing you're struggling to pay, you know, to just pay your rent of 3,000 kwa hiyo ka single room kako, which you're living with your parents also. You're struggling to get to mjengo because kwizi hata mjengo iko na favorism. You don't just get it. You have to, unafaa ujue foreman.
Foreman is trending on memes everywhere. Wako powerful kuliko mbunge.
Yeah, you are going to, you know, these odd jobs and you're struggling to pay taxes and all that, but still you're seeing there is imprudent spending on what you're paying. There is payment of goons to distract what you're crying for justice. So it's just a confused situation. I don't know how you look at it. Could there be an underlying factor that is fueling this protest other than the push for accountability and justice?
You see, in terms of investments, biashara hizo vitu zote, the whole world considers Nairobi alone as the Silicon Valley of Africa, not Kenya. And during the Sabasaba protests, that capital, the CBD, was not working. That's what we call peaceful protest. Peaceful protest is disruption of status quo. Bado maandamano yalihappen. Hizi zingine zenye zilihappen huku nje, with the investigations vile zinaendelea, na huyu kushikwa na huyu kushikwa na huyu kushikwa, you will come to note that it is the government now acting huko nje. Polisi waingie kwa estates, wawaweke uoga zaidi. Now imagine, weka hao two ladies kando. What do you think their parents wanafikiria? Yesterday nilikuwa nafanya kazi na one of the youths from Kamai, na after every 5 minutes akiona makarao huko nje KM, anatoka na niuliza, woyo joangu mtoto wangu, hadi namwambia, sometimes we have to let God take charge, because we are here with you. Your child is out there in a world yenye polisi wanaweza ua baby Pendo wa case yenye ijawaisha from 2017 up to now, na watoto wako worried. Sasa watoto hao naongelea ni watoto wadogo, and they are in chaos. Is bad business in itself. Tafanya hivyo ndo sisi tuingize uoga. But you see the generation that the current regime inataka kuweka uoga ni product ya watoto wa Maumau before 1963, a time when kulikuwa kumejaa giza. Only a handful of people wacha kuenda shule, but they still thrived against mzungu na tukapata independence. From there tuende ingine yenye iliwahi kuwa kubwa tena zaidi. July 7th 1990, 3 years before I was born, they went on the streets, including Raila Odinga, the head who is today ensuring that watu waandamani on Sabasaba, was among the people wenye walikuwa wanapigania Sabasaba for multi-party democracy. We are still the children of that generation now yenye imesomeshwa na Mwai Kibaki up to this level. You see, if it was between 1990 or before 1963, the handful of watu wametoka ghetto kama sisi wenye wamesoma walikuwa wadogo sana. But saizi watu wamesoma, we as youth can only be resilient. As youth tuko na shida mingi sana hizo zenye zinaleta stress. Watu wamesoma, hakuna kazi, na mzazi aliinvest kila kitu chake ndo akupeleke kampo, umalize uanze kumsaidia. Uko hapo hivyo, maisha imekuwa ngumu, and huyo mzazi anakosa kuunderstand. Wewe badala ujitume, mbona unaniambia unaenda maandamano? Mzazi maisha yake ni ngumu, but yeye and all those siblings wameka wewe mbele. It is worse for you if you are a firstborn coming from that world. All those stress does not mean we have to give up. Because you give up, you die. You lose the whole purpose of why you were brought into this world in the first place. Au kuletwa hii world uishi kuandamana. There is a life. So if you unaandamana ni due the weight of whatever is happening in the country is too heavy for you to carry. Shed the light as a youth, ndo wengine waone hiyo light na tufanye mema. And then tukae chini to relax. Kila mtu ana take time jioni ukishapata time, relax, reflect on yourself only, not the world. Ndio kesho tukiamka tupewe 500 tuende tukalut vitu za wenyewe. You start imagining about the sweat hiyo watu wamepitia ndo wapate hapo hivyo. If you have to loot, and if you're asking me, if you have to loot, you're supposed to loot those places that are barricaded, the State House and the Parliament, sio biashara za wenzako.
All right, this is the Standard. It's giving us the cost of Nairobi's one-day shutdown, saying 10.4 billion estimated economic loss for one day, 3.8 trillion Nairobi city's gross county product annually, and top economic contributors annually, financial and insurance activities, that is at 885.6 billion, real estate 628.4 billion, transport and storage at 581.2 billion. Kenya, Nairobi's share of national is 27.5%. That is Kenya's GDP at 16.2 trillion. We have Nairobi's share of key sectors. We have manufacturing, 36.9%, restaurants and other secondary, 33%, service sector, 37%. Nairobi population, as of 2024, is at 4.7 million. Working population is at 2.2 million. So we have a population of 2.5 million that are not working in Nairobi. And just a single day of not working, it costs Nairobi 10.4 billion shillings. And that is one day contribution. That is one day. We have a budget of 4.2 trillion. That means that all these earnings are incorporated in that. So if you're having a loss of 10 billion in a single day, in the month of June only, we had around 4 protests. And what was affected was the service sector and the restaurants and joints, which contribute 70.4% of Nairobi's collections. So that means that every time there is protest, every time there is closure of shops, every time there is closure of joints, we are losing 10 billion. So if it's 4 days in a month, that is around 45 or 10.4 by 4, that is around 41.6 41.6 billion roughly in a month. So if we are tunaandamana like every quarter of the year tunaandamana, that is 40 by 3 inasonga. And this is something that's supposed to be contributing to our GDP, which is actually less because our GDP is at 2.3 trillion. That means if we continue with this trend, we'll be having more deficits in our budget. And as we know, our members of parliament don't know how to manage funds, because the control of budgets on the Star says Parliament is being systematically ignored by institutions it oversees and the executive. A report by the Auditor General shows it is emerging that government agencies continue to disregard audit recommendations with near impunity. Despite clear legal mandates and repeated directives, the entities are feared to be creating a culture of financial mismanagement that cost billions. Only 21% of parliamentary audit recommendations have been fully implemented. That's according to the Auditor General. So we are having this deficit that's in a pile day by day, and our government does not know how to live within its means. So it means if the budget was at 4.2 trillion, there'll be a supplementary budget which will probably go to at 4.5 trillion. So we will just have more spendings. That means we'll be leading to more borrowing because the government has to work, has to move on. So do you think these protests are really beneficial to our country if we look at it to this perspective of the more we protest, the more we lead our country into more debts?
Protests are not supposed to benefit people that way. That's why people may view them as not beneficial. Protests are supposed to disrupt negative change. For example, watu tuseme kama kwa kazi, kwa environment ya kazi, watu wataprotest juu kazi haifanyiki. Mnasema kama hii nini haifanyi, situachane tu nayo. The cost of that is, or an easier solution is, listen, because protests are made or are done so that people can get what we are calling attention. Attention. They are seeking attention. Can you listen to us? So you listen to them, they won't go to protests. We do something right, they won't go to protests. We cannot bado keep going to protests always, because the country is bigger than one person. That's why they keep saying that no one is above the law. The country is bigger than our constitution. I will say it here and I will say it again. The constitution of Kenya is bigger than Bible. Nasema hivyo juu the biggest percentage of Kenyans, we are Christians and we feel entitled as if Kenya is a Christian state religion. We are a no state religion. That's why it pains a lot of Kenyans when 1.2 billion is spent in state house to build a church. Si hata watumia 500 million kujenga church, 500 million kujenga mosque, 500 million kujenga nini ya Wahindi, 500 million kujenga ya Waras. All these people to be represented in state house, because tomorrow the president could be a Rastafarian. The other day the president could be an Islam. Unaona, tutakuwa tukispend hivyo 1.2 billion kila time wewe ukiamka ujisikie na Mungu wangu leo anataka niunde church. Hata time ya David hakukuwa hivyo. These are just theatric lines and acts. So the deep state of this country itafika mahali watachoka pia. Mtu kama huyu mwenye hizi maguna zote, siko magunas ni mingi ziko kwa hizi counties ziko aligned hapa. Kuna Maguna, Nyeri, Murang'a and those Mount Kenya nini. We talked about voter apathy. This is one way of telling us something. Mbona kwa hizo supermarket zote Magunas ndio zimeguzwa? Ile time nyingine zote Quickmart ndio inaguzwa. They are strategic because ni watu wamejipanga, sio maandamano. Maandamano hata yenye haijajipanga. I participated in high school, Kerugoya Boys High School. Walikuwa wanatupa window kila mahali, si kwa super moja. Kama ni siku leo watu wamesema wanaandamana, ni zote zinaharibiwa. If you see them being selected, watu wanajipanga. I've had cases mahali wanatoka hapo hivyo wanaenda wanaandika insurance wanalipwa. It's fraud everywhere. So the deep state watachoka, wazee wenye wako na hizo biashara watachoka. It's only President Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula and Baba who are in government. Watu wangapi wenye ni vigogo hii nchi hawako kwa presidency? Mark you, we have only one reigning former president. His wisdom counts. Wanataka kuniambia hata yeye mwenye anaambiaga mtoto wake ngena aende huko akaandamane. Unajua huko ndo mademo walitoa hiyo power zaidi ya kuandamanaga. Siku hizi maandamano hata ni tamu sana, peaceful protest. Yutuko huko na warembo. Kwa nini Juadi Ngena Kenyatta aliambiwa na baba yake tokea? Mtu kama huyu anaambia nini tokea, na yeye ni one of the greatest investors in this country. Hawezi kubali biashara za wenyewe ziende hivyo. So tutaandamana leo na kesho kutwa. Things zitakuwa in line. By the time tunafika 2027, kitakuwa kinaeleweka hii nchi. Saizi hata vitu zimeanza kuchange kabisa. Ruto started with 2022. Hawa wakora nikiingia wataenda. Akaingia akashika Biblia akasema nikiweka hii Biblia chini mtaona. Tukaendelea. Juzi nilimsikia akisema mnataka niende guys. Nitaenda aje? Nitaenda vipi? The conversation has reached there. All the revolutions lazima zikuwe na kitu kama hiyo. So if he's not going kwa hii half term, then 2027 hata aibe aje will make a statement. At the moment no one cares about who will be the next president. All they care about is that next president will not be a butcher, will not be a disrespect of the constitution, will be someone. Sisi tunataka tu mtu follow law. Hata tukiweka maraga hapo hivyo, make sure tu katiba inafuatwa. So tutajisaidia. Kenyans don't need to be helped, especially by politicians.
Now that we are talking about 2027, the Daily Nation says big divide.
Haki ya Mungu.
In the past, maandamano ilikuwa ya Wajaluo.
Maandamano haijawahi kuwa ya Wajaluo.
No.
Hiyo ni profile yenye imeishi kufanyika. Yeah. Lazima tukubaliane Sylvia. Maandamano haijawahi kuwa ya Wajaluo. You know I'm Ojwang but I'm not a Luo.
I know.
And but listen. I have never even mtu hakuna mtu ambaye kuja hata anaonaga more Luo than Kikuyu. Hakuna time maandamano imewahi kuwa ya Waluo.
Look
Ni
at
vile
this
hao
this
Waluo ndo
way.
walikuwa wanalipwa zaidi watokee.
Look at it this way. In the past, when we've had previous demonstrations, we've had distractions, massive distractions in like Kondele. Kondele is famously known for protest. In Kondele, that is in Kisumu. We've had Eastlands. And places like Muranga, sijui Kiambu, rarely would you see protest. But this time, there's a shift. Kisumu is very peaceful.
Because of mtu wetu narrative. If you feel aggrieved, you will protest. If you don't feel aggrieved, you will not protest.
Now, let's look at it this way. You said that people will be going to vote as long as they don't want a butcher or something like that.
Yes.
I don't want to say you are referring to anyone.
No, don't
But
say I'm not referred to anyone.
I don't want to say you're referring to anyone. But let's look at it this way. Looking at politics, sometimes the inferior win, not because they win because maybe hakukuwa na another option ama hakukuwa na competitor. This is a situation where we are seeing other counties. We had 30 counties that didn't participate in demos. Can we say that all these 30 counties wako na mtu wetu?
Hawana mtu wetu.
Then is it wrong to say...
Sikiza maandamano yalifanyika wapi? I will repeat this again. Maandamano yalifanyika jana in the CBD. The CBD was supposed to be shut for peaceful protests. Peace hadi kumenyamazwa. Na tukasema what happened kwa hayo maandamano yenye yalifanyika in Nairobi CBD? 10.4 billion was lost. Umeshika? Hayo ndo maandamano. Maandamano yalifanyika Kisumu, by the way. Very peaceful protests. Huko kwingine kwenye maandamano hayakufanyika. Let us not say hayo ni maandamano or protests. We start teaching Kenyans what protests are and what violence is. That way we'll be able to know when violence is sponsored and when demonstrations are happening. Wewe umesema mlikuwa mahali wasichana wawili, si ndio? When mnaandamana inakuaga ni town na kwa barabara. Kama hapo hivyo kumetokea vita, it is just people wako hapo hivyo wanataka ku disrupt change, but it doesn't mean they are peaceful protesters. If this ever happened in the Lake region, it doesn't mean that hivyo ndivyo maandamano yalifaa kufanyika in the Lake region. Hata ni better tuseme that hao watu wenye wako kwa Lake region wameshaelewa vizuri maandamano yote yanafaa kuwa peaceful. Ndo maana hata tuliweza kufanya finance bill iende maandamano ikiwa peaceful. When maandamano is not peaceful, hakuna kitu kuja. Ask baba, ameishi hiyo barabara, na hata hiyo yenye alipata kuingia nini kwa broad based, si yeye aliandamana, ni peaceful protest ya hao wengine. Yake ilikuwa hiyo ya kuharibu mali ya 2023. People stopped doing that. Hao wengine wenye unaona hivi, hata tuseme wanalipwa, nani wanawalipa? Ni mwenye uongoza maandamano. Anaambia aje baba, anaambia aje Ruto, I know how I can help you to stop these protests. Let's be honest with each other.
Should we then, as a country, embrace working with the government to avoid such losses? Like in Nairobi peke yake, we have a loss of 10 billion. So in a single day. So should we then embrace a situation where we are working with the government to avoid such protests? Because clearly, no change.
Yes, we should. Hivyo ndivyo katiba inatuambia. Following the constitution says everyone should work with the government. Inafaa ikuaje? Let's say it's 2022. We've elected someone to be the president. We are supposed now to work with that person. Whether tulimchagua ama hatukumchagua. Whether uko hii region ama uko hii region. You are supposed to work together. 5 years zikiisha, aondoke. Sawa? But let's look at it this way. Umeingia for the very first 5 years. Things ziko venye ziko saizi. What are you supposed to do? The problem is not the government. The problem is whoever is in government. Because government is a representation of people. The president, the problem is us. The problem is the president, not the government. That's why unasikia kuna leto hadi watu wanaitwa experts. Mbadi, Ali Hassan Joho, Mutahi Kagwe, kuna expert mwingine wa IT anaitwa Kabogo. Because it's a government, not one person. So we one person akaweza kuondoka, the government would change. People, si ati watu wataki kuwork na government, ni hawataki kuwork na huyo mtu. Government ni kubwa sana. That's why kuna vitu hadi zinaitagwa PPP, public private partnerships, so that sisi kama government tunafanya 70%, nyinyi kama private mnafanya 30%. Hiyo PPP inamaanisha ni watu wanafanya kazi na government. The problem comes when we are personalizing. Who is this in this government that we are working with?
But then, Ojwang, if we look at it objectively, we've seen a situation where when someone is in government, they tend to, agree with everything that is going on in the government. Why not bring the changes while in government instead of waiting for a time when you're out of government? That is when you are seeing everything wrong with the government, and now your agenda is not on solving problems, but rather getting the person out of office. Like, for example, I'm saying maybe my member of parliament is not doing a good job. Instead of focusing on, you're not doing a good job on this and this and this, you should do this and this and this. What I'm focused on is, you're not a good person, you should get out of office. Like, no solutions being offered, but insults.
There is something that we call goodwill. Goodwill. That plainly too kwa roho safi you want to do things. The government is not using its money. The government uses money from all these people we are calling poor. Imagine. The taxpayers' money. They are just ni mtu ameajiriwa na sisi tumemwajiri. Sylvia, you know you are my friend. Nikikuajiri leo ukosa kufanya kazi, I will fire you. Kama contract yako haijaisha, I will fire and compensate. That's why Kenyans wanasema, would must go, please go. Then set a pay bill ama anze na pay bill. We can do that. Anze na pay bill. Tuchange, juu tuko na pesa. Tuchange hadi zijae, aende. We employ another person. Meshika. Ikishindikana then, mtu anaweza fanya kivyake. You see, mimi ni mtu niliishi kupiga mbunge wa kwetu sana juu ya kukosa kufanya vitu. And when I realized that he's still not doing, I started doing kidogo kidogo. Because we have power as youths. We have knowledge, and if information is power, we are able to create positive change. Na tusaidia watu wengi sana. Shida yetu ni kutegemeana. For example, Wakenya wameishi kutegemea baba Raila Odinga sana. Na hawawezi fanya bila baba. Baba saizi ndio watu wanaenda ya. Uzuri ni watu wenye walikuwa baba wanazeeka. So baba amekuwa kama mihadarati yenye iko ndani ya Wakenya, ndo watu sasa wako rehab. Inaisha polepole na yeye anaenda akiondoka. Now we are having new conversations, and in these conversations people are starting to learn from them. Ati from the Luo region, tuko na kina Babu Owino, tuko na kina Kasmuel Makoure. Haya, kati yao wawili nani traitor, nani anaka future inakaaje? Watu wana learn. It's a resilient generation of youths who are not willing to give up.
All right. Now, the Baba you're talking about is calling for intergenerational dialogue of burning issues. Do you think this is going to work?
Intergenerational dialogue yenye baba anaitisha. Aliitisha wakati baba yake alihitaji kutafuta kiti cha urais. But he disrespected the dad. That was before 1992. And the dad told him ni sawa tu. The dad later died in 1994. Baba did not dialogue there. From there, he dialogued with Moi, got in here akasaidika, wale wengine wakakosa kusaidika. Hizi dialogues kuna kwingine zimewaka. You see, in 202, Baba joined hands with Kibaki. They said Kibaki tosha. And he was recorded as the best ever CS for roads. Hadi akapigwa ile stamp ya engineer. To that point, by the way, mimi weshimu baba sana Raila Odinga. He showed that there is something like a super CS. You know, with Matiang'i factor, yake aliharibu juu 2017 kuna mili ilipatikana Yala. Baba bado ana stand as the best CS Kenya imewahi have. but in all those things alikuwa anatafuta dialogue. Ametoka hapo hivyo, wameingia tena 2007 kwa grand coalition with the current president Ruto, bado akiwa chini yake under ODM. That time we called even the late Kofi Annan. What do we get? Tunaweza vileta vitu zingine. The Constitution of Kenya tuliipata 2010. It was Baba and the dialogue. From there, 2018, what did we get? 2022, what have we gotten? So far, hata saa hizi bado kunaendelea hivi. The handshake had 10 key points ama agendas. Na moja ilikuwa deal with the cases of abductions once and for all. The president has not done that, even if ilikuwa bado kwa manifesto yake ya 2022. So hapo hivyo hakuna kitu mpya baba alikuwa ameleta kwa hiyo broad based. Kitu cha pili, compensate all these cases. Hiyo haijawahi fanyika up to date. Yet bado kuna pesa za hizo mabilioni za kwenda huko nje. Haya, ingine yenye ilisemekana, development imeanza kupatikana. And for that to that level iko fit, but iko side moja ya the lake region. It's a good thing. But have you noted that Siaya wamepewa kitu wengine wamekataa? So in the coast, mahali ya bado hata huko wako pro government, walikataa kujengwe nuclear facility. Si ilikubaliwa huko. 10 years from now, we will revisit this conversation online, either on KUTV YouTube with over 75 subscribers, or those social platforms yenye hii itakuwa. We will see the effect of that nuclear energy plant that is being planted at Siaya. Up to now, bado tunaongea. Saizi hadi tunaibadilisha, tunaita intergenerational dialogue. Next tutaita aje?
Alright. Someone may argue, or I saw people argue, that Baba is once again trying to get relevance because he realized that this generation, previously it was believed that maandamano could happen if Baba okays it. But right now, maandamano has happened without him saying a word, and he's trying to get back to his feet in terms of, managing protest. Do you share the same sentiments even as we conclude?
I don't share the same sentiments because I've seen Baba at his worst, and I've seen Baba at his best. I've seen Baba staying calm to a point people think that he will die. You see, after 2022 elections, he was so tired. People thought Baba will not make it. But Baba is someone who can reinvent himself if he realizes his purpose. And his purpose has always been on the people's side. Some would call it a blessing in disguise. Baba is so powerful when he's in opposition. Right now, he's even trying to do things ati kutafuta relevance na ako kwa gava. That he should feel sorry for himself because he's nearing the end of the legacy he has been writing since when he was born. Baba is one person who has been baptized so many times. Baba is one person who has been gone to Islamic world so many times. He's a man. Sometimes I look and say that kind of resilience, I'd like to have it. But what happens when you forget your purpose? You start feeling guilt. Saizi ni guilt inamkula. Ndio maana anasema, tukweli tu na intergenerational nini? Hahitaji intergenerational. Asimame akue baba, atusaidie sote.
All
And
right.
because he cannot do that as a president, he should do that as a statesman.
All right. What happened to Kenya nini? Mnafaa kujitegemea, mnafaa.
Sijasema ni kusaidia, tunasaidia baba. Umeleta question that baba is trying to seek relevance, which is true. But baba alipoteza wapi hii relevance, anaanza kutumia all this kuchoka kuipata tena.
All right, that brings us to the end of our discussion this morning. I have 1 minute for you to give us your last remarks.
Nasema asante sana for the kind of work we are doing, especially doing civic education. I saw our fellow youths commenting and giving opinions on how we are running the newspaper review and the kind of civic education we are doing on the university platform. And it motivated me to do more, to read more, so that we can give facts always. Mi ukuwa mtu mtrue sana, but kama kuna kitu sitaifanya, utaisikia nimetusi mtu, utaisikia nimesema kitu chenye kikienda kotini nitashindwa kujitetea. By 2032 I'm supposed to be on the bar too. So tunafanya vile inafaa, tunachambua magazeti, tunaongea ukweli. Kama gazeti imeandikwa brute force, once again the government unleashed, hiyo ndo tutaambia Wakenya vile iko. We will report. We are members of the fourth estate, because some of us could be short-sighted at uoni vizuri, but the country still expects us to give vision and show them the light.
All right.
So asante sana.
Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. To our viewers back at home, thank you so much for joining us for the past 2 hours or so. This has been Newspaper Review with Ojuang Mariam. Thank you so much for making